again, just that it's on tape and recording. Good evening, everyone. Item 1 on the agenda is fire exits, which I hope everyone in this room knows where the fire exits are, so I won't go through that, but needless to say, if an alarm goes, don't hang about. Item 2 on the agenda, apologies for absence. We've had apologies from Councillor Clay, Councillor Stallard and Councillor Scholey.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Item 3 on the agenda are declarations of interest. Does any members of the committee have any declarations of interest? Notwithstanding that you can declare later. No? Okay, thank you. Item 4 are minutes of the previous meeting. To approve the accuracy of the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 24th of May 2023. Does anyone have any amends, or is everyone happy for me to sign the minutes? Show of hands, please. Thank you. That's unanimous. Item 5 on the agenda is public participation. As we have no members of the public, we have no need for it, not unless any councillors wish to speak in a public session. No? Thank you. We'll move on to item 6 on the agenda, matters arising and outstanding matters from the previous minutes. 6.1 is dog waste bins on Wayfarers Green. A request has been received to move the black bin nearer to the path and create a path to it to discuss and determine action. We were sent around a photograph to show where the bin is. Can I have any comments or? Abby?
I would suggest perhaps we let the groundsman or the grounds team decide which would be the easiest and most cost-effective option of the two, and let them do it.
Anyone else?
I'm happy to second that proposal.
Okay, so we have a secondary proposal that we ask the head groundsman to work out the most cost-effective way of sorting the issue. Can I have a show of hands for all those in favour? And that was unanimous. Thank you. 6.2 is Hampshire flag. A Hampshire flag has now been purchased and will be flown on Saturday the 15th of July, and that is to note. Item 6.3, burial ground working party. Councillor Gibbs has requested that members consider creating a burial ground working party to discuss and determine action. Councillor Langford-Smith.
I do understand the need for working parties. However, at the last meeting, Councillor Gibbs left the meeting at 7:53. The meeting did not finish until 9:20, and the agenda very shortly after Councillor Gibbs left moved on to burial ground matters. So the majority of the last meeting was discussing burial ground matters. There was actually very little else on the agenda. So if you have a separate working party to discuss the burial ground, it almost negates the need for this committee. So I think there would be quite a level of duplication.
Okay. Councillor Puccini.
I won't speak for Councillor Gibbs because he's not here, but I think I recall at the last meeting his suggestion was to have a working party to cover those, which would mean that the agendas for these meetings were less jam-packed. However, I think we need to be pragmatic. We have committees and we have councillors that attend committees. I don't think we would have enough people wanting or having the ability to commit to an additional working party, and I think we struggle enough as it is with certain kind of councillor attendance. So I would say that we keep the structure as it is.
Okay.
If that's a proposal, I'm happy to second it.
That is a proposal.
Okay, so we have a second to proposal. Sorry, Councillor Andrew.
Just checking that it wasn't in the last meeting, but I'm sure we discussed that at some point, but not wrong in this council period. Since May.
Can't remember discussing having a working party set up.
It's just that he mentioned it at the last meeting, that was all.
Okay, I thought it had been discussed. Anyway, sorry, carry on with the
So we have a second to proposal that we don't set up a burial ground working party, and we just deal with things as they are at the moment. Can I have a show of hands? That's unanimous again, thank you. 6.4 is budget. To start and create a budget wish list for the municipal year 2024-25. The budget is finalised on the 27th of September 23. To discuss and determine action. If anyone has any thoughts, I think the best thing is to email them into the clerk of things that we wish to spend on the committee, unless anyone has anything. Now, Councillor Andreoli.
Just a reminder, I don't recall, but I don't think we this year put in a replacement bin. I think we bought one, but in this financial year, last financial year, I think we agreed to buy one extra. Yeah. Anyway, but for many years we put in an item on the budget to replace one of the red bins with a joint bin, and we still have some of the red ones.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Councillor Langford-Smith.
I would anticipate that the clerk probably has a list of things that she would like to help us deliver, which may require budget. So I'm sure that she would be happy to contribute to that budget list.
That'd be ideal. I'd like to see the fact that we have the potential of buying another Smiley speed sign. So we've got because the old ones that we have don't really, although they flash the sign at the speed up, they don't actually give any positive or negative to it. So I'd like that added to the budget. But yes, as I say, if anyone else has anything, then email them through to Clark and for the committee, and then we can bring them together hopefully for the next meeting. Is everyone happy with that? Yeah. Thank you. Okay, item 7 on the agenda. We have 6 items of correspondence. 7.1, 2 emails from residents in reference to proposed Forest Road speeding measures. That's to note. 7.2 is 2 emails from Hampshire County Council sent in response to residents in reference to the proposed Forest Road speeding measures. That is also to note. 7.3 is an email from Tozers in reference to a memorial application, and we see item agenda 10.4.1. Item 7.4, an email from the Vicar of All Saints has been received, and that is also to note. Item 8 is Denmead Phase 2 works, an update on the Forest Road speed measures. Hampshire County Council is compiling information document for residents, and this should be available shortly, and that action is ongoing. Item 9 is Denmead involvement with district policing team. 9.1, auto speed watch device. The warning sign has been purchased and are to be installed at the bus stop at Wow Hill. Well, actually it is up and running. Joe and Sam have sorted that out, and it is hopefully soon we'll be collecting data. So we'll go from there on that one. Councillor Langford-Smith.
Can I, on behalf of the committee, thank the clerk for the work that she's done on the auto speed watch. It's been a long journey, and she's overcome an awful lot of obstacles on the way, so she should be congratulated.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item 10 on the agenda. 10.1. Applications received. The list of applications received since the last committee meeting to note. 10.2 is resurfacing of Cemetery Lane and burial ground car park. Councillor Langford-Smith, Walsh and West met on Tuesday the 13th of June and it was agreed that the parish clerk will put a weighted list together for approval by committee. The parish clerk will also contact companies that have submitted tenders. Action ongoing. Is there any update on that at the moment?
No update so far, Chair. It was a very productive meeting. Councillor West very kindly provided Councillor Walsh and myself and the clerk with a very detailed specification on how we can actually look at the process of the tenders and attach the weightings, so we've all got a much clearer idea of the way forward now, so the clerk is coordinating the response to that.
Okay, thank you very much. 10.3 is burial ground management. To discuss and determine action on each of the following points in conjunction with the interim report. 10.3.1, Groundworks Company has expressed interest in grave digging and submitted a quote. Any comments on that? Councillor Langford-Smith.
Could I just ask how much, how does that compare the quote cost with the cost that we normally pay a gravedigger?
It is on there actually, on the email. It's £600 is
Yes, that's right.
that we pay at the moment. The email that was came with that quote.
Sorry, I only have paper copy,
Okay.
Chair. No, that's absolutely fine. So it's approximately £400 per dig more expensive.
Yes.
However, they are able to dig to double depth. Councillor Andreoli.
The estimate, the quote, which I think was in the report, quoted the full cost including VAT. So the actual cost is 850 quid.
Yes.
Yeah, as opposed to, okay, yes, it's significantly more than the current one, but it's not quite yet over 1,000 that the
No.
report said.
No, sorry, I've included VAT.
Yeah.
Any other comments? No? Okay. If we go through these all together, unless we'll go through them together and we'll then come back to make decisions on them once we've gone through them all. 10.3.2, it has been confirmed that hydraulic shoring can be used to dig single or double depth plots, whether standard or oversized, and an amended quote has been received for the equipment. For the equipment required, should an alternative company be sourced for digging plots. Okay. 10.3.3, a proposal to enable remaining Wouters plots to be used. We've had an email with a drawing as well. Councillor Andreoli.
On that third one, I'm not sure it helps, to be honest. In terms of filling them with gravel, isn't going to stop them also filling with water.
It's
No.
just a displacement thing,
Yeah.
but
There's still got to be a certain amount of water in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it would make life a bit better, but I'm not sure it would actually solve the problem, whereas I thought the rubber seal on the top had.
It made it better. I don't think it was 100% because
It's
it
not
is coming in through the actual concrete of the Wouters plots themselves.
So, concrete wasn't sealed.
Yeah, that's basically it. Isn't it? The concrete is porous.
Sorry, we're supposed to be discussing all 3 points.
No, that's fine. The Wouters plots are slightly.
Yeah.
The other two are linked together, aren't they? Councillor Puccini.
Can I just check my understanding? So the amended quote for the an amended quote to receive the equipment question and alternative company be sourced to dig plots. I thought that the current grave diggers needed the shoring regardless. But is it
Yeah,
different that a new person?
No, basically the new people, which is they would need the shoring as well.
Mhm.
It is a safety thing. Basically we're having collapses because of the groundwater. Councillor Langford first.
My recollection is that our current grave diggers have said that they won't dig double depth regardless of whether we supply the shoring equipment.
That is correct.
So if we want any double depth, we have to have a new company.
Okay, that's thanks.
Okay. Anything else? Councillor Puccini.
Do we have a quote from the groundworks company for a single depth grade?
No.
No, so we don't know what it would be like.
Councillor Andrew.
Regarding 10.3.2, I believe, I think we've already discussed it in that sense. I think we have to buy the shoring, whether or not we've got somebody lined up to do it. So I propose that we buy the shoring. That will enable us to go double depth and or excess size. We have a company who's expressed an interest. They're the only ones, as far as I'm aware, that are willing to. So I would suggest we get the shoring and then ask them to get to come along and have a go, shall I say? Not necessarily on a grave that we need used, but you know.
On that, there is the if they want to try the shoring out,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be in the burial ground.
Well, true.
We could use a Goodman Fields or some other piece of ground that we can dig on. Councillor Langford Smith.
I think it would need to be at burial ground because that's the site-specific conditions. I don't think there are the same issues at Goodman's, the soil, etc. So I think in order for us to have a level of certainty, it probably does need to be up at the burial ground. Can I just ask if the clerk can foresee any problems if we go down this route?
Personally, I'm not very keen on this route at all. They're unproven, and although they're willing, they have never dug a grave before. It's just quite emotive.
It's a very sensitive
Yeah.
subject.
I can understand that point of view. The unfortunate thing is we are in a position now where we can't bury anyone in the burial ground because we can't dig any plots. And if we can then dig plots, they can only be single depth. Councillor Andrew.
Conversation that Councillor Scully had with me just after the last meeting is the fact that the two, I think it's brothers who now run Bentley, have never done it, but their father used to dig graves as part of the thing. So there is some experience in the company. So I'm not suggesting that we employ them straight away, but if we get the shoring, then we can get them. I mean, let's face it, if they come along and try and dig a double depth grave and discover they can't do it, we're no worse off. But at least we could get them to try in a corner of the graveyard, not near necessarily, somewhere away from the grave, and fill it in again afterwards. But that would tell us whether they can do it and tell them whether they can do it.
Yeah.
But at the moment, we've got nothing.
Councillor Langford Smith.
Can I propose that we visit the burial ground and choose a location that we think is a suitable area for a test dig using the equipment by this company?
That's a good proposal. The only thing we've got is that we don't want them going with their machinery over to the far side of the burial ground on their first dig, because they've got to get across the burial ground in the first place.
So we need to choose a suitable location in
Yeah.
the burial ground.
Tony, did you?
Are they going to be members of the council there when they do their first dig?
I think that is a wise thing. I think
Yes.
for the clerk to be there and members of this committee to be there. I think that's a sensible thing that if we're going down this route, that we do that. As Councillor Andreoli says, we are in a position where we are stuck. It's a way forward. If it works, then we can move forward. Councillor Cheney.
Just to make sure we've got the facts right, obviously the current directors have said no to double depth, but in the report have they now said that they will do single depth plots year round?
They will, if we have the shoring, yes.
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 And as bad a position
No.
as the last meeting.
No.
Councillor Langford-Smith.
If committee agrees, I'm happy to attend with Councillor Andreoli and look at them doing the dig. Should we be needed?
Okay.
I did propose that we buy the shoring, whatever.
Councillor Cheney.
Sorry, I haven't managed to do the maths on the new quote. Do you know, Joe, what the difference is between the single depth shoring and the double depth shoring?
There's not actually that much difference in the actual shoring. The amended quote is for things that Ben Lee said they would need that ordinary grave diggers have, but they haven't got.
Okay.
So
It's basically like sheeting to go round the holes that they can work.
Right.
And things like that. As the clerk says, it's grave diggers would have it, but if this is the first time of them doing it, and it would effectively, I presume, we would buy it, and it would be our equipment anyway.
Yes.
So if they decide not to do it, we've still got it. Councillor Virginia.
So Councillor Andrew's proposal was to buy the hydraulic shoring, redo the double depth frame and have a trial with the groundworks company under supervision of council, and I would second that proposal.
Okay. So we have a seconded proposal to carry out that. Can I have a show of hands, please? Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. And item 10.3.
Sorry.
Well,
I thought you were skipping on to
No,
10.4,
no.
and then 10.3.3. So
Yes, 10.3.3. The Welters pots. Whilst this, I think, is a way of making it look like there won't be so much water in there because you're filling all the space that's there, it's not actually curing the issue. I think we need to look at something else, whether we have effectively even like a neoprene bag that we have made and put inside the Welters pot, fill it with gravel, and then put them in from there, because that would then hold the water back. Even if it doesn't 100% do it, it will effectively, you're putting them into a bag. Councillor Langford-Smith.
Would a metal liner not do the same?
The problem you've got with a metal liner is you've got a smaller hole at the top of the cask or the Welters pot than the actual pot itself, so you can't get it in there. Which is why I say something like a neoprene, something made to the shape of the actual inside of the Welters. Councillor Andrew.
Funnily enough, I was thinking exactly the same thing as you said it, so I would support that idea. Along with the groundwork to hold it in, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It will stop the water just pushing the
Yeah.
thing in. So if we can have a if I can take a template of the inside of a Welters pot. I've got a chap along the road from me who is a upholsterer. Well done, that's the word I was looking for. And he may be able to stitch the stuff together. So if we can do a,
do you like the measurements?
yeah, if we can do that, Joe. Sorry, Clark. Then we will try that option. If everyone's thinking over. So, Councillor Berry.
Can't you have them sprayed with, it's like a thin film, which then seals them and stops damp water coming through?
The only issue we've got with that is they're constantly wet because they're in the ground. If we had a really long, hot, dry summer, chances are they might dry out, but almost certainly they would always be wet, and most stuff needs to be dry to be able to adhere to whatever you're putting it on. But it's an option we can look at if this other idea doesn't work. So
I would suggest that not only do we, if we can get something made of neoprene to do the job, not only do we put gravel in to hold it, but we actually try and glue it to the sides at least. We won't really glue it to the bottom because of the water, but probably glue it to the concrete sides.
yeah. So I think we've had a seconded proposal
Yeah.
that we try and make a template out of something like neoprene, and then try that in there. And have a show of hands. Everyone in favour? That's unanimous again. Thank you, everyone. 10.4, burial ground administration to discuss and determine action on each of the following points. 10.4.1, a response from Tozers in reference to memorial application, and the suggested amendments have been made. To the memorial application form. Councillor Langford-Smith.
I would suggest that since this is a recommendation from our solicitor, that we follow that recommendation.
Okay. Councillor Andrew.
The only problem I have is that it says if not approved within 2 months of receipt, which may only be one of our meetings. 2 months, if it comes in just after one meeting, then it will obviously go to the next one, but if there's a query or anything, then 2 months may not quite be enough. That's what I'm saying. So
I think that could come under our jurisdiction as to be able to extend that. Although it says 2 months, I think we would have the right to be able to extend it, especially if there's a query or if it fell in between short time. Councillor Langford-Smith.
And that could be minuted at the meeting if there was a query.
Yeah. So,
which case I have no problem.
okay. So I presume Councillor Langford-Smith made a proposal. We accept that from our solicitor's advice. Councillor Andreoli is seconding it. A show of hands. Thank you. That was unanimous as well. Okay, 10.5. Conservation of land and extension of the burial ground to discuss and determine action on the following points. Further options to conserve the existing space. That's on 10.5.1. I'll do the same again and we'll go through these all in one. 10.5.2 is a meeting has been requested with Jackie Porter. 10.5.3, a preliminary ecological survey on Rookwood Nature Reserve has been booked for the 18th of July with Arbortech Limited. 10.5.4, Winchester City Council have advised that planning permission for a change of use will be required for Rookwood Nature Reserve. Any comments on those points? Councillor Langford-Smith.
With regards to 10.5.1, further options to conserve existing space, I know it's not a very popular idea, and I know it probably wouldn't be very well received in the village, but other councils have been forced to consider reusing.
Can I just stop you there? Because the only place that it's actually being done is in London.
It's
That's
not.
correct.
It's the only place that's been allowed to do it. So I don't think that Gemmead as a burial ground would get an exceptional. They would basically, I think, say that we need to shut the burial ground if we run out of space. I don't think we would get an exception as London has. Sorry to cut across you there, but
No, that's absolutely fine.
Basically it says we would need a change in the law
yeah.
to allow us to do it.
Okay.
Probably mean trying to put a bill through Parliament.
Yeah. Any other comments on anything on those points? Councillor Andreoli.
I know that the columbarium or barium idea, I can't see that being very good in a country churchyard, to be honest with you. It's
Yeah.
inside a building, yes, but out in the open, in a what we've always claimed as a country church, and I can't see that being an option for us personally. The camera tree bit, I'm not sure I quite understand.
I think that's basically you get buried underneath the tree and you fertilise the tree effectively.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Well, they do that at the
This is
natural burial ground up on the downs,
Yeah.
but they still dig a 6 foot by 6 foot by 3 foot hole and put a coffin in it.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how that would help us necessarily.
Councillor Berry.
How soon will you be putting in planning permission for a change of use?
I think the first thing we do is wait to get the report back. That's my opinion. I think that's the way forward, is to wait till we get the report back to see that will then give us a feasibility, because if they find something in there that prohibits us doing it, then there's no point putting planning permission in. Councillor Langford-Smith.
Are there any laws on how you bury somebody, as in, at the moment, we have coffins horizontally?
No.
Is that, I know that is the norm, but are there any rules on perhaps coffins being vertical?
It is done, I think, already.
I think we might have problems with the ground collapsing
Yeah.
after a certain depth.
And you're certainly not going to get double depth grave.
No, but
Vertically.
you could fit more,
Yes.
so we could have more burials within the same amount of space that we have. Just trying to think out of the box.
Excuse the pun. Yes. Councillor Berry and then Councillor
You don't
Andrew.
have, when you put them in feet first, you don't have double.
No.
What happens is you put them next, so that it'd be husband here, wife there, daughter there.
Yeah.
And with a normal grave, you can get about 4 of them in.
Okay. Councillor Andrew.
Yes, the other option, which isn't necessarily, but well, it is to do with the size, was the one which I've read, which isn't on this bit, about shallow graves with concrete slabs on top of the coffins, which means you can bury them slightly less deep, but still, it still goes more than a single grave depth down, I think.
Yeah, I don't think that was it. That's not a space-saving thing, is it? That's just a.
No,
it's a. If we.
well,
could-
it is in terms of at the moment we can't do double coffins.
Yes.
And that was an option to actually dig not quite so deep and still get 2 coffins in the same grave.
Yeah.
But it's not one I've come across.
Councillor Langford-Smith.
Sorry, so how does that work then? I appreciate that you have the first interment,
They have.
and
there
that's
is a-
just, and then the stone goes on only after
No.
the second interment?
Yeah. There is a level, from what I've read, there's a level of soil that has to be over the top of that
Of
first
the first
casket.
Right.
Then, if there's a second interment, that is then put in with that, keeping that level.
Yeah.
And because you're that much closer to the surface of the ground, you put the concrete slab in there and then put as much soil over the top of that then as you can. It basically
So when does the concrete go in? So
On
on the
the-
second?
after the second one.
Okay.
It's basically done so that you effectively, I presume, is so that nothing could dig up, because the casket is that much closer to the surface. Councillor Bacini.
So I think that obviously we're exploring the natural scattering side. The kind of tree, I think in the links you've sent there, Clark, they are around ashes and trees, so they are space saving compared to coffins. So I think it would be helpful to explore that as an option, because anything that can encourage people away from kind of into something more ecological but also more space saving would be good. I think there's not a magic answer here, and there's 1 or 2 options, neither of which are perfect. And I think given how emotive it is, I think at some point we are going to have to consult on this, and it's going to need to be very sensitively done with a lot of preparation. But I think ultimately that's the only way we're going to come to a way forward on this one, as to whether we do something like the columbarium going up, but that might be seen as unsightly, or whether we go with ashes only or non-residents only. But I think either way we go, we'll have to get people's opinions on that and involve all saints as well.
I think with our decision we made earlier on that we go back to double depth digging, and with the hydraulic system, that will help alleviate some of the problem we've got at the moment. But the space is never going to, unless we get some more land, it's not going to change. We will run out of space. It's just an unfortunate thing. It's just happened the way it's happened. So if we have Councillor Andrelli, sorry.
We just, I think we, yes, we're going to look to try double digging again. We've agreed that. I think we need to have as a backup the idea of a shallow grave policy, which still does give us the option of 2 coffins in a grave, though not dug so deeply, obviously. Which is what the current grave diggers are suggesting if they can't manage doing anything else. Otherwise, we just have to look to only having ashes. I'm not saying we are at that point at the moment, but that's another thing we have to consider. Yeah. Or we just go ahead and fill the burial ground with single depth graves, and then say, sorry, it's closed.
Yeah.
And we noted the letter from the vicar, but if we can't do what she would like, we can't do it.
Yeah. Okay, so we're on 10.5.1. We are all obviously come up with the ideas of trying to look for extra saving space. 10.5.2, we await a meeting time. Did you have something on that one?
I do. Councillor Porter was actually trying to put us in contact with Winchester College, who own all of the land around our burial ground. So the meeting actually wasn't with Jackie Porter, it was with Winchester College, but Jackie Porter advised that Winchester have a memorandum of understanding with Winchester College, so she was trying to set up a meeting for us. I have chased, I'm waiting to hear back.
Okay, thank you on that one. 10.5.3, I think we await after Tuesday the 18th the report back, and we can move forward from there, and that then knocks on to 10.5.4 that we won't apply for planning permission until the outcome of that report. Is that a fair summary of everyone's understanding of that section? Everyone agreed on those points? A show of hands. That's also unanimous. The next council meeting for this committee will be held on Wednesday the 16th of August 2023. Thank you very much.
I will 6 weeks ahead give my apologies for that meeting.
Thank you.